Welcome, everyone, and welcome back to your channel that will change your life for the better, Alpha Intel.
Yeah, we are so incredibly happy that you chose to spend your time with us today.
Exactly. Whether you are driving to work right now, or maybe you are just walking outside or relaxing at home, we just want to thank you for being here.
We really do. This channel is all about real conversations that change real lives.
It is. We want to give you the tools to actually build a better future.
Right, because we do not want to just give you basic advice. We want to share ideas that you can actually use today.
Exactly. So just take a breath. You are exactly where you need to be right now.
We really have so much to talk about today.
We do. This is the kind of discussion that can completely change how you view the world.
And, more importantly, how you view your own potential.
But before we get into today's topic, I need to ask you something personal. I want you to think about your family for a second, your grandparents, your parents, you. Has anyone in your family ever been a millionaire? For most people listening right now, the answer is no. And here is the uncomfortable truth. It is probably not because they were lazy. It is probably not because they were not smart. It is because nobody ever taught them the rules of the game. And you cannot win a game you do not even know you are playing.
And what makes this even harder to hear, Adam, is that most of us grew up watching our parents work incredibly hard their entire lives, 2 jobs, 3 jobs sometimes, sacrificing everything, and still never getting ahead.
Because working hard is not the secret. I know that sounds wrong. Everything we were taught says work hard and you will be successful. But the data tells a completely different story.
So what is the real secret?
Today on Alpha Intel, we are going to answer the question that could literally change your family's future forever. Why do poor people stay poor? And more importantly, how do you become the first millionaire in your family's history? Stay with us. This is the most important conversation your family never had.
Let's start with a reality check. And this is a really big one. Right now, the richest 1% of people in the world own more wealth than the bottom 50% combined.
Wow. Just think about that for a second. The bottom 50% is literally billions of people.
Exactly. And when most people hear that number, they naturally feel angry.
Right, because it feels incredibly unfair that so few people have so much.
It does. But asking if it is unfair is actually the wrong question. The right question is, why does this keep happening?
Generation after generation.
Country after country. Because,
Right.
if it was just bad luck, it would be random. The money would move around from family to family. But it rarely ever does.
Right. And like we said earlier, poor people often work much harder than rich people. So a lack of hard work is clearly not the main reason here.
No, it is not.
Now, when looking at the political discussions around this, we're not taking any political sides or endorsing any viewpoints. We are simply reporting the ideas to help you understand.
That is such an important point because in the political world, the left often blames circumstances and systemic oppression. They say the system is just broken.
Right. And on the other side, the political right often blames a lack of personal effort. They say people just make bad choices.
But if we step back and look at all the facts together, the reality is that poverty is actually a mix of all 3 of those things.
Yeah, circumstances, oppression, and personal effort. It is just a different mix depending on the person.
Exactly. Let me give you a clear example. Imagine a person who survives a terrible earthquake in a country with a very corrupt government.
Okay, that is awful.
Right. Their poverty is mostly because of circumstances and oppression. It has absolutely nothing to do with their work ethic or their personal choices.
That makes total sense. But now, let's compare that to someone else. Imagine a person who grows up in a safe, middle-class home, goes to university, and gets a degree in accounting.
Okay, a great start.
Yeah, but then they fall into severe addiction and end up homeless. That situation is driven almost entirely by a lack of effort and bad personal choices.
Right, it is not systemic oppression in that case.
Exactly. Okay, so if hard work is not the only deciding factor, and circumstances are different for everyone, what are the actual rules that wealthy families know?
Yeah, like where does the wealth actually start?
Well, it starts in the mind, long before it ever shows up in your bank account.
Wait, really? Just in how you think?
Absolutely. You can have 2 people who start in the exact same neighborhood, go to the exact same school, and have the exact same family income.
Okay.
20 years later, one is completely stuck, and the other has changed their entire family tree.
Wow. So the difference really comes down to the daily invisible decisions they make.
Yes, it comes down to how you talk to yourself about money. For example, a poor mindset looks at something expensive and says, I cannot afford this.
Right, and that is a full stop. When you say I cannot, your brain just shuts down completely.
Exactly. It stops working because you told it the problem is impossible to solve.
But a rich mindset looks at the exact same expensive thing and asks, how can I afford this?
Yes. It turns the statement into a question. And questions force your brain to find solutions.
It sounds like such a tiny change in words, but it changes everything about how you act.
Because your brain actually believes what you tell it. If you ask how, it starts looking for leverage.
Okay, let's explain what leverage is, because this is the real secret here.
Think of lifting a very heavy box. You can use your own back, which is hard work, or you can use a machine to lift it.
Right, the machine does the heavy lifting.
Exactly. The machine is leverage. It multiplies your effort.
So how does that work with money?
Let's use real estate. You do not need $500,000 in cash to buy a house that costs $500,000. That is a total myth.
Right, you pay 20%, which is much less.
Yes, you get a bank loan for the rest, then you rent the house to tenants.
And the tenants pay you rent, and you use that rent to pay the bank loan.
Exactly. Over time, the house becomes more valuable and you own it, but someone else paid for most of it. That is leverage.
We can think of leverage kind of like a pyramid. At the bottom of the pyramid is labor.
Which means getting other people to work for you.
Right. And one step up is capital. That means using money to make more money, just like your real estate example.
But at the very top of the pyramid is code and media. This is the absolute best leverage you can use today.
You mean like using software or social media?
Yes, algorithms or artificial intelligence. And why is it the best? Because the computer code works for you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, for free. It never sleeps.
Okay, so if these rules are so simple, it raises a huge question. Why do so few people actually use them?
Because there is a trap, a massive trap that spans across generations, and honestly, nobody warns you about it.
Oh, you mean lifestyle inflation?
Yes. I want you to think of it like running on a treadmill.
The treadmill is like the perfect way to picture it. What happens when most people get a raise at their job?
They immediately upgrade their life.
Exactly. They get a brand new phone, they buy a nicer car, they move into a bigger apartment.
They increase the money they spend at the exact same speed as the money they earn.
And mathematically, they just stay at zero.
Right. They're running faster and faster on the treadmill because they're making more money, but they are not moving forward. They are just as broke as they were before.
Here's the most important lesson to take away from this section. The gap between what you earn and what you spend is your future.
Yes. Building wealth is not about how much money you make. It is entirely about how much money you keep.
And changing this habit is so incredibly hard because we inherit our ideas about money from our environment.
There is a really powerful quote we found for this episode. It is easier to get out of the poor neighborhood than it is to get the poor neighborhood out of you.
Let's just pause and think about that for a second.
Yeah.
You can change your physical location, you can move to a nice city.
Right.
But changing the mindset you inherited from your family, the fear, the bad spending habits, the limiting beliefs, that is a much harder battle.
Which brings us to the places they're supposed to prepare us for life. Why didn't any teacher in a classroom warn us about the treadmill?
Yeah. Or why didn't they teach us about leverage?
Because schools are fundamentally built to teach you how to be a good, obedient employee.
Wow. That is hard to hear, but it is true.
They are not built to teach you how to build wealth. We spend 12 years in school learning history dates and complex math formulas.
But nobody ever sits us down to explain compound interest.
It is a huge missing piece. And since they do not teach it, let's explain compound interest simply right now.
Okay, let's do it.
Think of it like a small snowball rolling down a hill covered in snow. At first, it just gathers a few small flakes.
Right, it grows slowly at first.
But as it gets bigger, its surface gets larger. Suddenly, it is picking up massive chunks of snow with every single turn.
That is exactly what your money does when you invest it. Your money makes a little money.
Yes. Then, that new money starts making money too. It grows faster and faster over time.
But school never teaches that. And they also fail to teach the difference between an asset and a liability.
Which is crazy because these two words are the basic language of money.
Let's define them right now so everyone listening understands. An asset is something that puts money into your pocket.
Right. And a liability is something that takes money out of your pocket. It is really that simple.
Can you give me a real-world example of how people confuse these two things?
Oh, absolutely. The most common example is a car. Most people proudly say their car is their biggest asset.
Yeah, you hear that all the time.
But think about the math. Every month, you have to pay for fuel. You pay for insurance. You pay for maintenance and parking.
So it is taking money out of your pocket every single month.
Exactly. Therefore, a car is a liability.
And because people do not understand this, they fall into two very different formulas for living.
Let's talk about the poor formula first. It goes exactly like this. Income comes in, you spend it on liabilities like cars and expensive clothes, and you stay broke.
But the rich formula is totally flipped. Income comes in, and you use it to buy assets first.
Like investments or real estate.
Right. Those assets generate new money. Then you use that new money to buy your fun liabilities. The assets pay for your lifestyle.
If we look at the big picture, it means we have to unlearn a lot of bad behaviors.
So what are the specific daily habits keeping people stuck in that poor formula?
There are 5 major limiting habits. If you are listening right now, I want you to be really honest with yourself as we go through these.
Okay, habit number 1.
Habit number 1, trading time for money.
This means relying only on a traditional job. The problem here is that you only have 24 hours in a day.
There is a hard limit. If you get sick and stop working, the money stops completely. Wealthy people build systems that make money even when they are not working.
Okay, what is habit number 2?
Spending to impress. This is buying things you do not even need with money you might not even have just to impress people you do not even like.
Oh man, that destroys your future for a temporary feeling of status. It is a terrible financial tax.
It really is. Habit 3 is avoiding financial education.
Right. This happens when you know all the details about the characters in your favorite TV show, but you know absolutely nothing about your own bank account.
Or how the stock market works. You basically choose entertainment over empowering yourself.
Habit 4 is one I see all the time, waiting for the perfect moment.
Oh, yes. Saying things like, I will invest when I earn a little more, or I will start my business when things slow down at work.
But the perfect moment is an illusion. It does not exist.
It never does. The best time to start investing was 10 years ago. The second best time is today.
So true. And what is the final habit?
Habit number 5, default friends.
Default friends, like the people you just naturally meet in your hometown.
Right. It means surrounding yourself with people who limit your potential just because they live nearby or work at the same company. They are your friends by default, not by choice.
What?
There's a great story about a guy who wanted to start a business. He asked his friend, who was a plumber, for advice.
And what did the plumber say?
The plumber immediately told him it was a terrible idea, claiming that 98% of businesses fail.
But the plumber did not know the facts. He was just projecting his own fear.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You become the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. If your friends believe success is impossible, you will believe it too.
Okay, so we know the bad habits, but how do we actually start making more money so we can invest?
It all comes down to the value equation.
Yeah.
Money is simple. Money follows value.
Okay.
If you want more money, you have to become more valuable to the market.
I am not sure I follow. What does increasing your value actually look like in real life?
Well, you can charge more money if you do 4 specific things. First, solve a bigger problem. Second, solve it faster.
Okay.
Third, make it easier for the person. Think of a diet coach. If a diet coach helps you lose weight while still letting you eat ice cream, they are making it incredibly easy for you.
Right, and because it is easy, they can charge a premium price.
Exactly. And fourth, offer a guarantee. If you remove the risk for people, they will gladly pay you more money.
Okay, so we know the traps to avoid, we know the habits to break, and we know how to create value.
Let's look at the actual action plan.
Yeah, if someone is starting at 0 today, what is the literal first step? How do you become the first millionaire in your family?
First, we need to be very clear about the goal. The goal is to become a millionaire, not a billionaire. I want you to think about the game Monopoly.
Monopoly is a great example. Why is it so different?
Think about the end of a Monopoly game. It is incredibly stressful. You might own a ton of properties, but all you do is fiercely protect your wealth.
Right. You have huge tax liabilities.
Every time you roll the dice, you are terrified of landing on a hotel and losing everything. Becoming a billionaire consumes your entire life with stress.
But achieving a net worth of $1 million, that is entirely different.
It really is. That gives you ultimate freedom. It is enough money to quit a toxic job, take a vacation, and breathe.
Without inheriting an empire of stress to manage.
Exactly. So here's the specific system to get there. We call it the BIG framework. BIG. Let's start with the little b. It stands for books.
Reading is basically a magic trick. You can download decades of someone else's hard-earned experience into your own brain in just a few hours.
But people always say, I do not have time to read. Let's do the math.
Yeah, let's break it down.
If you read just 10 minutes a day, every day, that is roughly 1 book a month. That equals 12 books a year.
And you can use those 12 books to solve your specific money problems.
Exactly. Now, the I in the framework stands for individuals. This is how you fix the default friends problem we talked about earlier.
You have to upgrade your circle of friends. Stop hanging out with people who complain all the time.
Use the internet. Reach out to authors, experts, and mentors online. The amazing thing about the internet is that the ambitious people you are looking for are also looking for you.
That is such a good point. And finally, the G stands for goals. Vague ideas like, I want to be rich, do not work.
No, they do not. You have to write your goals down on paper to make them real.
Right. We recommend the 20 idea method. You pick one main goal.
Let's say your goal is to earn an extra $500 this month. You sit down with a piece of paper, and you force yourself to write down 20 different actionable ideas to achieve it.
Writing down the first 5 ideas is easy, but forcing yourself to get to 20 really stretches your brain.
It makes you think of creative solutions you never would have seen otherwise.
I love that mental exercise, and I want to add 2 final rules to this action plan. First, the 1% rule.
Stop asking, why am I broke? And start asking, how can I improve my finances by just 1% today?
Small daily shifts.
Exactly. And the second rule is the most important. Always pay yourself first.
Yes. Before you pay your rent, before you pay for electricity, take 10% of what you earn and put it into an investment account where you cannot easily touch it.
Wait, I have to stop you there. If someone is living paycheck to paycheck and they can barely afford their rent right now, telling them to hide 10% of their money sounds impossible.
I know.
How does that actually work in reality?
It sounds impossible, but it is a behavioral shift. If the government suddenly raised your taxes by 10% tomorrow, you would complain, but you would figure out a way to survive.
That is true. You would adjust your spending.
You have to treat your future wealth like a tax that must be paid. Even if you start with just $10 a week, the habit of paying yourself first is far more important than the initial amount of money.
That makes total sense.
Yeah.
So if we look at everything we've talked about today, it really comes down to this core idea.
You cannot out-earn a poor mindset.
That is exactly right. The difference between the rich and the poor is not a difference in pure intelligence.
No, it is a difference in financial education, understanding leverage, and making better daily decisions.
So I want to leave you with a final thought today, something for you to really think about after this discussion ends. Once you break this cycle, and if you apply these steps, you will, once you become the first millionaire in your family, your next greatest challenge begins. How will you ensure your own children do not inherit a mindset of entitlement and instead learn the very rules of the game you had to teach yourself today?
What an incredibly important question to consider. So we want to hear from you. What is one money habit you are going to change after listening to this episode?
Tell us in the comments. We read every single one.
And if this discussion changed how you view your potential, share it right now with one person whose financial future you want to help change.
Remember to subscribe to Alpha Intel for new, life-changing discussions every single day. Keep learning, keep questioning, and we will catch you on the next episode.